may be open for a long time or maybe open for a short time. But I think we should not assume it'll be open for a long time. And we should assume it'll be open for a short time. And while the window of opportunity is open, we should make life multiplanetary.
There is a similar but more explicit statement. That is, it's confirmed. The 3I-ATLAS is an alien spacecraft. We need to run or destroy. A strange object named 3I/ATLAS is hurtling toward the solar system at an unusual speed, leaving the scientific community stunned. NASA, along with many satellite observatories and telescopes around the globe, is urgently tracking it. However, the latest data from Harvard University has shifted everything. This is not necessarily an ordinary comet. If it truly is a natural celestial body, the risk of a collision could wipe out human civilization. But if it is alien technology, is it coming with the purpose of reconnaissance or attack? And the frightening truth is that we may not have enough time to react before it gets close. In this video, we will break down each clue one by one, from its irrational trajectory to its superlative speed, to reveal a completely different picture, not the kind the public usually sees. Could this be a greeting from a distant civilization, or the final warning before it is too late? The story begins with a figure whose name carries enormous weight in the academic world. Professor Avi Loeb, an astrophysicist at Harvard University renowned for his willingness to voice bold, sometimes provocative hypotheses. Throughout his career, Loeb has balanced prestige and controversy in equal measure, unafraid to challenge mainstream thinking if the evidence pointed elsewhere. This fearless approach has often placed him at the center of heated debates in the scientific community. Working alongside a skilled research team at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics, Loeb initiated an indirect collaboration with NASA, drawing on streams of observational data collected by space-based instruments and Earth-based telescopes. Their shared focus, tracking an unusual object in space known as 3I/ATLAS. The mystery began to unfold in early July 2025, when the Atlas telescope in Chile captured the object entering the solar system. Initial measurements quickly ruled out the possibility of it being a member of our planetary neighborhood. Instead, its path revealed a hyperbolic trajectory, clear evidence it had traveled from interstellar space. Even more startling was its motion. The speed and angle of its approach resembled a direct, calculated shot toward the heart of the solar system. To seasoned astronomers, it was unlike anything in recorded history, prompting both fascination and unease. Adding to the enigma, high-resolution images from the Hubble Space Telescope revealed that 3I/ATLAS lacked the classic cometary tail. Instead, it emitted a faint but distinct glow from its forward-facing side, a highly unusual characteristic for any natural cosmic body. Supporting observations from NASA's Swift Observatory deepened the mystery further, detecting water vapor and hydroxyl OH molecules even when the object was still far from the Sun, well outside the range where solar heat would normally trigger such activity. At this point, Stephen Hawking's long-standing warning seemed hauntingly relevant. Hawking had cautioned that reaching out to extraterrestrial civilizations could be a dangerously naive act. He compared the cosmos to a dark forest, where every civilization hides in silence, wary that revealing itself might attract the attention of something far more powerful and potentially hostile. Now, hundreds of hours of incoming light and radio data painted an unsettling picture. Humanity has been transmitting signals into the void for over a century, and for the first time, it feels as though something might be answering back. Drawing on this combination of puzzling orbital mechanics, extreme velocities of hundreds of thousands of kilometers per hour, and the strange illumination at its leading edge, Loeb and his team posed a question few dared to voice. What if 3I/ATLAS is not a natural object at all, but an alien spacecraft? And the most chilling thought, if it is, should we expect a greeting or a threat beyond imagination? They thought it was just another comet, but from the very first observations, 3I/ATLAS broke every familiar rule. The first anomaly, its orbit. Natural comets usually plunge into the solar system from chaotic, slanted angles, cutting across or diagonally intersecting the paths of planets. But 3I/ATLAS was different. It sat almost perfectly on the ecliptic plane, the same plane in which all the planets in the solar system move around the Sun. NASA confirmed the tilt was only about 5 degrees, a coincidence so improbable that scientists frowned in suspicion. A straight, smooth path, as if someone had used a giant ruler to draw a route from outside the solar system directly toward its center. Next came the speed. Ordinary comets rarely exceed a few tens of thousands of kilometers per hour, but 3I Atlas was racing at about 210,000 kilometers per hour, equivalent to 61 kilometers per second.
It's moving at a velocity of about 135,000 miles per hour.
Some calculations from independent observation groups even pushed the figure close to 255,000 kilometers per hour. At that speed, it could cover the distance from Earth to the Moon in just over an hour. For comparison, the fastest spacecraft ever built by humans, the Parker Solar Probe, reached just over 160 kilometers per second when approaching the Sun, and that was the result of decades of advanced technology. 3I/ATLAS reached this staggering velocity without any visible engine at all. Its size made the concern even greater. Images from the Vera C. Rubin Observatory suggested the object's core could be as wide as 11 kilometers. Data from Hubble refined the estimate, placing it between 320 meters and 5.6 kilometers. But even the lowest number would still be enough to cause a global extinction event if it collided directly with Earth. An object like this wouldn't just trigger tsunamis, earthquakes, and massive wildfires. It could alter the planet's climate for years. The appearance of 3I/ATLAS was also unlike anything ordinary. Its entire mass was wrapped in a thick shell of dust and ice, forming a faint, ghostly halo around it, called a coma, that even began to trail a faint tail of dust particles. But instead of simply reflecting sunlight like normal comets, it emitted light from its front, hinting that there might be some form of propulsion inside or beneath that icy, dusty shell. NASA's instruments also detected unusually high levels of gas and dust release, happening much farther from the Sun than the range where heat normally causes such activity. To science, these were just statistics. But to Avi Loeb and his research team, they were signs. Signs of something built, not something formed by chance. A natural object could not possess such perfect precision. If it's not rock and ice, then what is it? And an even more chilling question, who or what sent it here? The path of 3I/ATLAS through our solar system is unlike the casual arc of a comet simply dropping in from the cold edges of space and then sailing back out into the void. This is not a lazy loop dictated by random gravitational pulls. Instead, its movement is deliberate, almost purposeful, as if following a prearranged itinerary. As it entered our system, the object executed a series of precision flybys past 3 of our major planets, Venus, Mars, and Jupiter. These were not distant passes. They were close enough to suggest that the object was taking advantage of each planet's immense gravitational field to alter its speed or tweak its heading. In spaceflight, this is a known and valuable trick called a gravity assist. It's a maneuver where a spacecraft approaches a planet at just the right angle so that the planet's motion and gravitational pull slingshot it forward, increasing velocity or shifting direction without using any fuel. Human-made probes like Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 relied on this exact principle to journey across the solar system and into interstellar space. And yet, 3I/ATLAS is not a human-built craft, or at least not one we have launched. Despite that, its journey mirrors the efficiency of a mission planned by engineers, as though its route had been plotted long before it ever reached us. Statistical analysis from Harvard underscores just how improbable this is. The odds of an object on a retrograde orbit, that is, moving opposite to the direction of the planet's orbits, aligning so closely with the ecliptic plane where the planets lie, is only about 0.2%. That's already an unlikely coincidence. But the chance that this same object would also time its approach to pass by Venus, Mars, and Jupiter at exactly the right moments to maximize gravitational boosts? Less than 1 in 20,000. Those are not odds you encounter in the natural drift of space debris. To visualize this, imagine the planets as massive, moving spheres, each gliding along its track around the Sun. If a passing object comes close enough, it can borrow a little of the planet's orbital momentum, an invisible push that can radically alter its speed or direction. We've used this trick for decades in space exploration, but the fact that 3I/ATLAS appears to be doing it without an engine, without guidance from Earth, and without an obvious reason is deeply unsettling. So the question naturally arises, why those 3 planets? Venus, with its thick atmosphere and searing heat. Mars, our cold, dusty neighbor, often targeted for exploration. And Jupiter, the gas giant whose gravity dominates the outer solar system. Each of these worlds is positioned in such a way that a carefully plotted series of encounters could use their combined gravitational forces to reshape the object's path with extraordinary precision. This doesn't feel like the aimless path of a lost asteroid tumbling through the cosmos. It feels like a pre-drawn route, a map whose purpose remains known only to its maker. The waypoints are too precise, the timing too perfect to dismiss as random chance. Which leaves us with a more provocative question. Is this truly just a rock and ice fragment from deep space, or is it behaving like a vessel, executing a deliberate operation across the solar system? If it is the latter, then someone, or something, has charted this path with intent. And that question is not merely one of academic curiosity. It is a challenge to our assumptions about our place in the universe. Because if it's not nature, then someone, somewhere, is quietly sending a signal in the form of an unforgettable journey through our own cosmic backyard. By the end of October 2025, 3I/ATLAS will disappear from the gaze of every telescope on Earth. It will not be leaving the solar system, nor plunging into the depths of interstellar space. Instead, it will slip into the solar conjunction zone, a stretch of sky where the sun completely hides it from our view. In this position, the blinding glare of sunlight and the intensity of solar radiation overwhelm every ground-based telescope, rendering even the most sophisticated instruments effectively useless. Astronomers already know what this means. For weeks, the object will be untouchable to human eyes. According to current tracking data, it will remain hidden until early December 2025, when it emerges once again on the far side of the sun. This period has been dubbed the blind window, and for good reason. During this time, the world will have absolutely no idea what 3I/ATLAS is doing. For a harmless comet or asteroid, such a disappearance would be nothing unusual, just a predictable gap in observation caused by celestial mechanics. But 3I/ATLAS is no ordinary visitor, and if it were under the control of some form of intelligence, this gap could serve a far more unsettling purpose. Out of sight, it would have the perfect opportunity to alter its speed or trajectory without a single person on Earth realizing what had happened. NASA's official timeline confirms that the object will remain observable from the ground until late September 2025. After that, It will approach too close to the Sun for direct monitoring, its signal drowned out by solar interference. Only in December will it reappear, and by then, its position could be radically different from what we expect today. There is an additional, deeply intriguing detail. 3I/ATLAS is traveling on a retrograde orbit, meaning it moves in the opposite direction of the planets with a tilt of roughly 175 degrees relative to Earth's orbital plane. Its point of origin appears to align with the thin disk of the Milky Way, a slender band that contains the majority of the galaxy's stars. That in itself is uncommon for interstellar objects, adding yet another layer of mystery. All of this transforms the upcoming blind period into a vast and unnerving question mark. If, when it returns to view in December, we find its path redirected straight toward Earth, there will be no record of when or how that change took place. It is a scenario that leaves scientists and the public alike uneasy. The thought lingers like a sharpened blade hanging above. When it reappears, will it be coming for us? The layer of ice and dust enveloping 3I/ATLAS is far more than a simple signature of an ordinary comet drifting through space. At first glance, it might resemble countless other icy wanderers cataloged by astronomers, but a closer examination hints at something far more calculated, something that looks less like a natural coating and more like a carefully engineered suit of armor. Imagine a shell so dense and uniform that it masks every shred of thermal energy, every whisper of a heat signature. In visible light, this shell scatters photons in all directions. Tiny crystalline ice particles suspended in the surrounding coma refract and diffuse sunlight so thoroughly that any internal structure is obscured from view. To the naked eye, or even through powerful telescopes, 3I/ATLAS appears as nothing more than a hazy, glowing silhouette. Meanwhile, the extreme cold of this outer shell suppresses infrared emissions, blurring or erasing the object from heat-sensitive instruments. NASA's archives contain echoes of this concept, not in reality, but in theory. In several speculative engineering studies, scientists explored the idea of an ice-clad ship, a spacecraft wrapped in thick frozen layers to serve as both insulation and camouflage. Such a design would protect against intense heat, absorb and dissipate incoming energy, and most critically, reduce radar reflectivity. The purpose would be clear: to approach a target invisibly, slipping under the watch of even the most advanced detection systems. This idea is not confined to science fiction or conceptual sketches. In the real world, radar systems like NASA's UAVSAR have already demonstrated the ability to penetrate hundreds of meters of ice during polar surveys. They can map terrain beneath glaciers, detect the composition of subsoil layers, and even locate structures buried for decades. But the same principles that allow radar to see through ice could, in theory, be inverted. If an ice shell were intentionally engineered to scatter, absorb, or distort incoming signals, the radar image would become garbled, incomplete, or useless, masking whatever lay inside. Professor Avi Loeb has pointed out that if 3I/ATLAS reflects light at an albedo of around 10%, the implications are staggering. Such a low reflectivity would mean the object's diameter must be roughly 20 kilometers, 100 to 200 times larger than Oumuamua and more than 1,000 times its width. In terms of mass, it would outweigh Oumuamua by over 10 million times and exceed the core mass of Comet Borisov by at least a factor of 100,000. This is remarkable, Loeb observed, because objects of such large mass are extremely rare. Based on current asteroid belt models, astronomers would expect to find millions of Oumuamua-sized bodies for every single object of similar mass to 3I/Atlas. If the ice and dust shroud is natural, it could simply be the product of sunlight striking a volatile, rich surface, causing sublimation and producing a glowing coma. But if it's not natural, if it is a deliberate construct, then we are looking at one of the most sophisticated cloaking systems imaginable. a veil capable of defeating optical telescopes, nullifying thermal sensors, and confusing radar into reporting fragments instead of form. In that scenario, 3I/ATLAS is not simply a wandering lump of frozen rock. It is a masked entity, hiding its identity behind the very laws of physics we believe we've mastered. The issue then shifts from how could it be done to the far more troubling why was it done? Who would go to such lengths to create this camouflage? And more disturbingly is the ultimate purpose to approach our planet unseen, slipping silently into our vicinity before we even realize it is here. The warning echoes like a cold voice in the forest at night. Extraterrestrial civilizations may be staying silent to ensure their own survival. The dark forest theory, once supported by Stephen Hawking, likens the universe to a bleak forest where every being is a hidden hunter. In such a setting, broadcasting signals or revealing one's presence could be an act of suicide. As in the original The Dark Forest, the survival strategy is simple. If you see someone, shoot first, ask later. Many scientists fear that when information travels too fast, silence becomes the most effective shield. And 3I/ATLAS, or its counterpart, may not be coming to greet us, but to reach out and destroy. Avi Loeb does not shy away from this hypothesis. He warns that if 3I/ATLAS is truly an alien technological device, we should assume hostile intent by default. Not because we are afraid, but because we will not get a second chance to ask. And if this is not just a science fiction premise, the damage could be global. An object with a diameter of up to 20 kilometers slamming into Earth at cosmic speed would unleash an explosion of millions of megatons, enough to wipe out humanity, shatter the atmosphere, and alter the planet's climate for years. Today, NASA already has space defense plans, including one initiative informally called Shield 3. The name may not be official, but the mission is clear: intercept or destroy a potential threat before it can become a catastrophe. A real-world prototype was tested in the DART mission when NASA deliberately slammed into the asteroid Dimorphos just to measure the effect of altering its orbit. The result? DART shortened Dimorphos's orbit by 32 minutes, far exceeding the initial goal of only 73 seconds. This proved that if detected early, Earth could indeed prevent a natural or extraterrestrial disaster. However, DART itself was not flawless. Debris from the impact is now drifting through space, potentially falling back to Earth in the coming decades. The mirrored lesson is clear: every action must be calculated carefully, because the consequences could kill thousands in ways no one expected. We must understand, this is not just a science fiction scenario, but a possible future closer than anyone thinks. When every possibility carries the weight of human lives, the only choice is no longer whether to welcome or run. It is intercept before it's too late. When the question is no longer, is there someone out there, but is it aiming at us? Every second that passes is time we can never get back. From its abnormal orbital data and speed far beyond any comet ever recorded, to its massive size hidden behind thick layers of dust and ice, 3I/ATLAS has shown us a chain of signs too significant to ignore. Its precise flybys past Venus, Mars, and Jupiter seem like calculated gravitational boosts. The weeks-long blind period as it disappears behind the sun leaves behind a string of scenarios no one wants to imagine. And its perfect disguise, masking thermal signals and scattering radar, brings to mind NASA's own ice-clad ship concepts once studied on paper. Professor Avi Loeb of Harvard has not hesitated to say it outright. If this is alien technology, we should assume it may be hostile. The dark forest theory has long warned us. The universe is a place where every civilization stays silent to survive. And when a visitor breaks that silence, no one can be sure their purpose is benevolent. If 3I over ATLAS is just a block of ice and rock, it will drift by and vanish like millions of other interstellar objects. But if it's not, then with each passing day, we are moving closer to either an answer or an irreversible end. The problem is, no one knows for sure. No scientist, no observatory can state with absolute certainty what it is, and that uncertainty is the most dangerous part. When information is lacking, we are forced to prepare for the worst-case scenario, even intercepting or destroying it, just as NASA tested with DART and is planning to enhance it in future planetary defense programs. Now the question that remains echoes like a distant call. Is this a messenger of peace or a predator in the dark? A message sent to humanity or a spear racing toward us, hidden beneath a frozen shell? The answer may come in just a few months when 3I over ATLAS returns to our view after looping around the sun. And by then, every theory will be tested, but it could also be the moment when every action is already too late. If you want to dive deeper into mysteries like this with us, leave a comment with your thoughts. Don't forget to like and share this video so more people can know about the story, and subscribe to MindGap so you won't miss the next episodes. Every interaction you make not only helps us continue investigating, but also helps the community search for answers together. Because in the dark forest of the universe, the one who makes a sound first is often the one who disappears first.